Folks, we're here tonight to speak to Joel Robbins, our brand new pastor here at church. Joel? So let's talk about your long family history in the church.
Plenty of pastors in the family. My great-great-grandfather was a circuit rider, and we have his saddlebag license that he would give the magistrate when he would come to preach. And my father is a Methodist pastor, and both of my brothers, Tom and John, are Methodist pastors, and my wife is a Methodist pastor, Dr. Christy Robbins. So there's plenty to go around there, that's for sure.
So your father is Thomas Q. Robbins, is that right?
Yes.
So what does the Q stand for?
His father was born, and the joke was that his father, my great-grandfather, had joked, and they ran a sawmill, that if his 11th child was born on their 25th wedding anniversary, that he would name him Q.C. Robbins. And I mean Q.C. Robbins, for a quarter of a century. And so being in East Texas, that name took. And there was Q.C. Robbins Motors, and Q.C. Robbins Petroleum, and Q.C. Robbins Tire Store, and Q.C. Robbins service stations, and wonderful man, but most people never knew the origin of his name. And he ended up being born on their 25th wedding anniversary, and that stuck.
And so your son Tom, he's Thomas Q. Robbins?
He's Thomas Q.C. Robbins.
Q.C. Robbins. Okay, so it continues. Very good.
He is, and he's named after multiple members of the family, but specifically my brother Tom, who's one of my best friends. And so
now your father was a JAG officer, is that right?
he was. He was a JAG officer in the Army, and then he left there, practiced private law, and finally surrendered to his call in ministry in 1972. And so he has been in the pulpit since.
He's been serving churches here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
He has. He's been in the Central Texas Conference. He went to the North Texas Conference, was at University Park in his latter years, for 14 years there. And then moved to Marlin, Texas, to prove to Marlin that he felt called there 2 years before his retirement. And did amazing ministry there. And so I'm very proud of that, what he's done. He's an extraordinary man, to say the least.
Now, you didn't have that same attitude when he first began to preach, is that right?
Not at all. We had moved to, when his first pastorate full-time took hold, the little Red Oak paper did an article, and my teacher said, "Well, you're the new pastor's son," and I remember specifically saying, "No, ma'am, my dad drives a truck and he drinks a lot of beer." You know, typical fourth grader. That's a little scary at that age to have that descriptive father, but none of that was true. So
Now, so your father was U.S. Army, but you weren't. You went to another branch of the service.
I did. I did the Marine Corps, and they were incredibly good to me all of those years. Met some extraordinary people, and wound up in an anti-terrorist unit. And ironically, that commander is at White's Chapel. We were in Norfolk, Virginia together at NATO headquarters.
Yeah, very interesting.
We guarded special weapons, and he's a wonderful man. We've reconnected, and he was an extraordinary leader, and he's a big lay leader in the Methodist Church in our conference. And so I was telling a story about him, and his pastor said, "Wait a minute, I think I know that guy." And I said, "No way." We were sitting by a river in Glen Rose, Texas, and I said, "Is there any way you have his number?" And so I called him, and that was him. And so things have really come full circle. It's been amazing.
That is a small world, isn't it?
It is very much a small world.
Now, you served in the Gulf War
I did.
as a tank commander, is that right?
I was a gunner at that point.
Okay.
And we were one of the first armored units over there. So that was an experience, to say the least. But
were you in the first or the second Marine Division?
Second Marine Division.
Now, you told a story on Sunday about serving communion to some folks and everything, and having seen them through some sites.
Absolutely. It's amazing how God brings things full circle. And Sunday's sermon was about redemption and how in communion God can redeem anything and anyone. And that's an instance that changed my entire life. To at once be at war with someone, and 20 years later offering them the Holy Eucharist, and as we call it, the sacrament of communion. And what an incredible instance of God's grace and love in Jesus Christ. It doesn't get any better.
So when did you decide to become a Methodist minister?
I think I more so gave up. I'm goal-oriented in some respects, and I was under the impression if I could be successful enough that the calling would be replaced with material goods and financial gain and all the things that capitalism tells us we need. And I think capitalism is a good thing, but when it comes to calling, God could care less. And I think once God gets hold of you, it is a subtle yet persistent calling that He will not stop until you surrender. And I'd never heard of surrendering to God's call until I really understood and realized the calling is not what you want to do, it's what you have to do eventually. And it really has been a blessing ever since.